We are live. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. You are tuned in to the Non-Corporate Network. Dustin, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's Friday.
It's starting to feel like we're going to have a weekend again. Like, I feel like we've just had these... I don't want to say Blur's Day again.
Dude, I used it yesterday.
If you haven't been watching, we have this terrible dad joke called, it's Blur's Day, because we don't know what day of the week it is. Sorry for making you guys... hear that joke again. But yeah, you're tuned into the Non-Corporate Network. This is a show called Fill in the Blank, where we debate the 6 hottest stories in small business news. We talk about them for 3 minutes apiece. And yeah, my name's Chaz Vandemotter, by the way.
Dustin Trout.
And yeah, we're excited to bring you some stories. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add before we hit the ground running?
No,
here?
I think we can hit the ground running.
Let's do it. Well, our first story is in regards to esports. Obviously, esports is a huge industry. It's a growing industry. 1.1 billion in revenue done in 2019, and it's one of the few industries that's continuing to rise. Interesting things that I saw in this story, 456 million of that revenue is coming from sponsors like Coca-Cola, Louis Vuitton, among others. So I think that this is something to definitely be taken seriously, especially with sports kind of sidelined right now. No pun intended. But yeah, what do you think about esports? What do you think about where this industry is going and how you can kind of harness it from like a business standpoint?
Well, growing up playing baseball, I cherish traditional sports, but I mean, after seeing just younger kids, I got a nephew that's younger. There's a lot more watching people play video games on YouTube and stuff rather than going outside and throwing a ball. So unfortunately, I think that it's going to be a growing trend that traditional sports is going to go by the wayside, and this is going to be a thing of the future. It might take 5 to 10 years or even a little bit longer, but eventually we'll have a generation that's what sports is, playing video games. Attention is obviously going there. I mean, the rise in people watching this keeps growing. And as you mentioned, big brands are jumping in. So if there's anything that you can do to create a partnership with a gamer or a tournament, maybe... Who knows? Maybe you host a tournament and you put one on. I know it's thinking outside the box, but it's definitely a growing trend. It's going to continue to grow. Figuring out how to get your brand in front of those eyes. Super loyal audience, I think.
And notoriously, gaming was something that was kind of looked down on because of the fact that there wasn't really a lot of money to be made there. It was more of just like a fad or something you do to kill time. And so, I mean, looking at the stats here, 42% of that 1.1 billion was on sponsorships. Another 23% of it came from the media rights. So, I mean, they're selling the rights to these tournaments. 17% came from advertising. So they're kind of double dipping there. You got sponsors and you have advertising. People are watching these tournaments. People are watching these streams, and advertisements are coming up. And then another 9% on merchandise and tickets. I mean, 9% of $1 billion is $100 million of merchandise. I mean, that's crazy. And another 9% in game publisher fees. So I think that, there's a lot of different avenues in monetization here. Social media is applicable. These different streaming platforms are applicable. I mean, I'm seeing stuff on TV, on ESPN. They're televising this. So, I mean, this is continuing to grow for sure.
Yeah. And like I said in the last episode, this is something that can be play. I mean, you don't need to be out in daylight and all that. So, I mean, you could have overnight tournaments. You can. And there's so many different ways to go about it, and it doesn't take a toll on the body. So there's a lot more people that will be involved.
You don't need to buy $1 million turf field or something to play. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, not a lot of barrier to entry, and I think that these lower income countries are once they get these devices as well, it's less cost prohibitive than most. Okay, yeah, moving on. So Postmates is working on delivery robots, and they currently have a staff that's helping chaperone those delivery robots. If you're not familiar with Postmates, it's kind of like Grubhub, Uber Eats. You order your food online on their app, and they deliver it to you for a nominal fee. They pay the business pays them to have the stuff on their app. You pay the customer pays them to deliver the food. What do you think about having delivery robots just like rolling around town delivering food?
Well, I mean, we saw last week, literally a little robot on the sidewalk. It was going back and forth doing some weird stuff, but I mean, I'm all for it. It's
got R2D2 with a
exactly.
cheeseburger in the top of him.
Exactly. No, I'm all for it. I mean, sure, this is Postmates, but I think this is going to go off into other industries such as groceries. I mean, I hate going to the grocery store. Half the time, I'm trying to look for what aisle it's under. I mean, it's just a waste of time. So if I can push a button and it gets delivered to me, I'm all for it. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. But what are your thoughts? You for it?
I mean, I wouldn't think that you would be so insensitive, Dustin.
Surprise.
We got a job crisis right now. People are going to eliminate jobs for these are roles that are accessible. These are some of the only jobs that are available right now is the grocery store stocker, the delivery person. Like these are the things that are blowing up right now and that are allowing for businesses to hire. So, phasing out and cutting people off at the knees, it's like, what are we going to do? I mean, if we have 4 million people that are unemployed, like, the last thing that I think we should be doing is trying to phase out more jobs, especially with these lower hanging, not super high skill jobs that anybody can kind of just go and do and supplement their income.
I hear you, but I'm tired of that argument. I mean, we had the Industrial Revolution come through. Sure, there were shoemakers that left now that we can mass produce shoes, but now it created more brands, which then ultimately created more jobs. So essentially, it's how I look at it is, sure, we are going to lose jobs. We might lose 100,000 jobs, but through this evolution, we're going to be able to create 1 million jobs, 2 million, whatever it is. So it's whenever there's innovation, sure, you're going to have job loss, but that creates many more opportunities. And
you're going to have a technical college for repairing delivery robots, like you repair cars. Which cars maybe think of the mechanics might move over to the delivery robots.
Sure, it starts with Postmates, but who's to say everything can be delivered? And now you have, a ton of different delivery services that you can then help work for, whether it's customer service, whatever it may be. But like I said,
Domino's has got those cars in the commercials. I'm sure their grand plan is to be able to have these little smart cars rolling up in people's driveway and popping the pizza out the top of the car or something,
Throwing it out.
Throwing it it's like a newspaper.
Yeah. So I'm for it. I can't wait to see what happens.
It'll be interesting.
I think it's just going to create more jobs in the long run.
It'll be interesting.
But on to our next one. So they're finding that telecommuting or working from home is kind of blurring the lines between work-life balance. We've talked about it a couple times, stay-at-home orders and stuff like that. More people are working from home. Anything new, there's always going to be, let's see what happens, and we have to be kind of reactive to it. So I think what it boils down to is just creating process, creating the agenda for your day. Like we mentioned, most people are working in their bedroom or their bed. And so there is no distinction between going to bed and work and all that. And I think it's just creating different work spots. But I think it's work-life balance that plays big on the mental side of things. And outside of just the blurred lines, I think I mentioned it on the impact it has from a mental perspective. Yeah. What are your thoughts on
it was reported that over 50% of people are now wanting to work remote now that they've gotten a taste of it. But you guys are entrepreneurs watching. Not everybody is an entrepreneur. Not everyone's cut out to do it. Not everybody is cut out to make their own day and hold themselves accountable and be productive and get the things done they need to get done. I know I have a team of 6 remote people on our software company, and it's great in a lot of ways. It's convenient in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of downfalls as well. And I think that we're looking at these silver linings of, work remote and I don't have to be exposed to the virus. And it's like, I get it, but there's going to be a loss of productivity to an extent in terms of, you're having nonverbal communication that is being taken away if you're just on phone calls with people. There's no accountability where somebody's sitting right next to you working. You're trying to reach out to people. You can't get a hold of them where they normally would be in the office. So I just don't think that everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur, and working remote is synonymous with being an entrepreneur, in my opinion. And so I'm weary that the productivity of workers is going to go down because of this.
Yeah, I mean, once we get out of this, I think it all boils down to just give the employees choice. I mean, maybe you force people to come in once or twice a week, but I mean, to your point, there's a lot of unproductive things that can happen, but it all boils down to creating that process. Maybe you guys have 10-minute check-ins 3 times a day just to kind of get a pulse on where things are. I mean, there's so many different tools and apps that you can use. I know you've mentioned Trello, we use ClickUp, stuff like that, that you can help prioritize people's day and get insight into what people are working on. But I mean, it's big change. It's not normal. And with that, it's not status quo. You're going to have to figure out how to create process around it. And what are the things that you do in order to make sure that everyone's productive. I mean, I've seen stuff where there's some apps now that are tied to work productivity apps that give you points, and those can be redeemed for gift cards or whatever. So you're kind of incentivizing it. I mean, to me, that's what a paycheck is. You're incentivizing work. But,
I mean, you just hear so many people talk about, I got to homeschool my kids now while I'm working. It's like, how the heck is that working? Like, there's no way that you're doing as much, And so I think that, everybody's talking about, we have a little bit of a slowdown with all this. It's like, get people back in the office, I think, is going to help turn that around. But I digress. What's our next point here?
Next up, Starbucks. So they have seen a 65% increase in same-store visits week over week. That are, I think, 90% open across the country. Obviously, there's some states, some cities that are forcing them to stay closed, but for the most part, they're reopened, and people are not only going, but they're coming back for more.
Right.
I love this. It's definitely a huge turning point in all the negative, media that's been out there. I mean, outside of where you should be spending your dollars, I don't know if, a $5 coffee is the best, but it's a sign that people want to go out and be in places and go purchase. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, and I don't know how much of this is because of this, but I know that, like, I got to give a shout out to guys like Elon Musk, like Dave Portnoy, that over the last couple of weeks have been very vocal about there's no stuff if we don't make stuff, and there's nothing that is going to happen to the economy if we don't stimulate it ourselves. And so I think that this kind of media push of these business leaders and advocates of let's get back to it has really kind of changed the perception, at least from some standpoint, as it relates to what people were willing to do 2 weeks ago to now. And so, I mean, I love seeing this. They lost $1 billion in sales, estimated sales over the last 3 months. And so these types of businesses are the lifeblood of the economy to an extent. And so as much as we look down on the businesses from the PPP loan perspective and go, you guys got a lot of cash, you're fine. It's like, we need these businesses to do well. Small businesses are going to, need to continue to grow as well. But these big businesses becoming bigger and, making money, I think is a good sign for us. So I'm glad to see people going back.
Yep. No, I'm excited to see getting out of this. I think everyone's ready to get back. The economy needs to come back. I've heard here, there's a couple clients that we have that said, I mean, their sales are up quite a bit. And they're brick and mortar coffee houses and stuff like that. And so it's just good news hearing that things are coming back. I mean, it's a little crazy seeing the unemployment spike. I mean, have you seen, there's something that shows over a time lapse, and all of a sudden it gets to 2020, and it's just, it's insane. So, I mean, it's in our best interest to get everyone back to work, but not only are they opening, but people are coming back and spending money, and that's obviously a good thing.
Yeah, let's keep it going. That's it's a scary time, but I mean, I think that at first when Starbucks announced it was going to be opening up, it was like, how could they? 2 weeks ago, it was like, how could they open up? And now it's like, awesome, 85% of the stores are open, and the next 15% of them are going to open up in a couple more weeks. And so it's like, I think that things change quick, and the media is crazy. So I'm glad that these personal brands are kind of evangelizing, let's get back to it. I think it shows the power of how they can influence people. So
open up, open safe. Let's get things rock and rolling again. Love it. On to our next story, TikTok. They can't seem to stay out of fill in the blanks headlines.
Yeah, they're all over there.
But they actually just acquired a new executive, and actually from Disney. So it seems like it was a younger exec before. They've been getting a ton of bad news. So is this a move to where they're going to bring someone in that has a bit more experience? It's going to help them, kind of navigate the waters to not be so negative. I kind of like the move. I like seeing where they're going. They've blown up, bring in some more experience, help guide the ship so they can stay out of the bad news.
Yeah, I mean, what better way to relate to 15-year-old girls than to have like a 45-year-old, 50-year-old executive come in and add his 2 cents. I mean, I look at this and I mean, you know my reservations about TikTok and the fact that Tencent owns a lot of it. Tencent's a big Chinese corporation. And so I'm already kind of weary about it. I mean, it's smart. Think about what what this guy's been exposed to in terms of acquisitions. I mean, Hulu, ESPN, Fox, ABC, History Channel, A&E, FX, the list goes on. So it's like, I think that they are in the boat of, we're not necessarily a social media company as much as we're an entertainment company. And so it kind of shows their chess move in the fact that they want to kind of position themselves towards more acquisitions. And they've already talked about, the different companies that they're looking to acquire. I forget the name of the first one they were talking about, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm not super stoked to see like a Chinese corporation going and acquiring a bunch of businesses and creating this multi-headed platform. But I mean, is that what you think, that they're going to go down and be more of an entertainment play more than a social media play? I mean, it seems to be that. I mean, and you think about like they're still trying to work on getting the advertising right. And it's interesting to see. I mean, they're trying to figure out ways to monetize it, because that's the biggest thing. It's a reason that Vine died, right? There's so much attention on it, but there was no money coming in compared to the amount of costs they were paying for servers and et cetera. And I mean, you got a big company that's running the ship, but I think they know now, like, we need to figure out how to monetize this thing ASAP, and who better to build off of than a company like Disney and what they did. And so, I mean, it's going to take them, getting some strategic acquisition, getting some monetization going in order to survive. Yeah, I've seen quite a few ads recently just from TikTok saying, this is all the white space. It's what Facebook used to be in the golden years. Advertise with us. So I mean, to your point, I think they're realizing that with no money you can only last so long, and right. So I think they're on a huge push to figure out how to monetize. And so I mean, do you think that bringing on this exec, he's going to go rogue, or do you think keep figuring out how to blur the lines of data collection, or you think he's going to help kind of set him straight? Think about like Disney has just as much, if not more, personal data about people just off of the theme parks and the information they get from you. I mean, you're giving them your photo ID, among other things. Like, so, I think we forget that. And, if Disney has gone around and stood for what they stand for, but in the background, taking all this data, have all this data, it makes me scared about TikTok, and they've already been in the news for data breaches and taking data, selling data. And so it kind of rubs me a weird way. So, I mean, we'll see how it pans out. And I mean, hopefully we can have faith in this, but we'll be cognizant, people. We'll see. On to this next one. I'm excited because, last story. You talk about this quite a bit. So what happened to Skype, man? What happened? Skype, Microsoft, what are you doing? This was your time. 14 years in the making. Skype was around for like 7 years before Zoom was even created. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how they missed out on this wave of video conferencing. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, they have a verb, Skype, in the Webster dictionary, yet they couldn't figure out how to monetize their platform. I mean, they saw some increase in usage, of course. But their numbers have been dropping for years, and it blows my mind that, we see companies like Zoom taking off, finding ways to monetize, yet Skype seems to be kind of left in the dust compared to Zoom and Hangouts. But yeah, what do you think about the state of Skype and what happened? I hate Skype calls. Anytime I see a Skype link, I'm like, really? I don't like Skype. But I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, they've been around 14 plus years. Yeah. But they made a move over to Microsoft Teams, which, again, not a fan of. They're
just not a good interface. So it's like, did they give up too early, or did they miss the boat by shifting over to Teams?
I think that that kind of, because if you guys have followed Skype, they tried to turn it into a social network for like 10 seconds is what it seemed like. They put it out, everybody hated it, and they were like, okay, never mind. And then next thing you know, they buy LinkedIn, and then next thing you know, they launch Microsoft Teams. And I think that they were trying to just shove product out the door when they saw this whole thing happening. I mean, Microsoft Teams wasn't really even on my radar until they were like, oh, pandemic, remote work, like we got to get this out. And so I think it came at a bad time for them where they were kind of trying to reposition. And I'm sure some of the Skype technology went into Microsoft Teams, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why is it even a business still if they're not putting any emphasis on, making it better or monetizing it? It doesn't make sense, Microsoft. Like, what's the play there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, was it a marketing thing, or did they just not innovate and make features that people want?
Right.
Because it seemed like it was just always a barrier to actually use it. Again, just not good for the consumer.
Zoom and this other app, what's the other app? House Party are both in the top 3 apps downloaded in the U.S. Guess where Skype falls on that list in terms of downloads?
Like just overall downloads, I'd say past 100.
They're at 75.
Close.
And the only reason I think is because it's like, oh, I already had Skype on my computer from 5 years ago. I'll just keep using it. But it's like, yeah, you're at 75, and House Party and Zoom and Google Hangouts are all in the top 10. It's like, what happened? How did you guys not push this harder? But it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. What did you guys do? Microsoft. I'm speechless. Billy G, dude, what's going on, bro? That completes our show for today. 6 stories in the books. You guys definitely reach out to us if you have a story that you found. I know I've had a couple people hit me up with some cool stories, so I'm excited to continue to add those to our queue. Comment live. If you're watching a live stream, reach out, say something. We'll field it. Thank you guys for tuning in to Non-Corporate Network. Do we have anything else? You want to mention Advantage today?
Well, I guess you kind of just did.
So. Oh, yeah. Advantage. Advantage.com. If you have excess capacity, fill it. Use Advantage. They are a great trading platform. If you need an accountant, you need a lawyer, you need anything in business, we're all entrepreneurs. We all have that thing that we need right now, a bookkeeper, whatever it is. Head over to Advantage. You can find somebody for free.
Yeah.
It's just trading.
Yeah.
So it's a great platform.
The last piece I would say is, I mean, this is Fill in the Blank. It's a show that is hosted under the Non-Corporate Network. And so we are getting more aggressive in trying to find other people that want to, have shows that would live under the Non-Corporate Network. So if you're a content creator or know someone that's trying to get something going, have them reach out to us. We'd love to figure something out and do something like this for them. The overall goal is, Non-Corporate Network. You got ABC, ESPN. This is a channel dedicated to entrepreneurs from entrepreneurs.
The grand pitch here is that we want to be running shows 9 to 5 Monday through Friday that are specifically, like you said, by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. So if that sounds like you could be a fit, if you have a subject matter expertise and you want to bring it to this type of medium, like, we want to talk to you. So where can they find us?
ncnbroadcast.com. Fill out a form there. We'll pick up a conversation. But we're just trying to help other entrepreneurs, other content creators, and just bring a little bit more business news that isn't so full of gray hair. I got to be careful of the balding because that's what's happening to me. But,
well, I mean, we can get some of that like hair spray stuff. Just do the silver hair, and then maybe they'll hire us over at CNBC.
No, we don't want to be hired there.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for taking a look today. And we'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But until then, get out there, hustle, enjoy your weekend. Don't work too hard, but we know you're going to be glued to your laptop anyway. So good luck. And thanks for watching.